Xfinity is out as title sponsor of NASCAR's second tier series. After the end of the season, NASCAR introduced a fastest lap award, 1 point every single race for the driver that is the fastest. We have to talk about it. Welcome back to Break Hard. I'm Matt, once again using the green screen again, so you're going to see the chair kind of pop through here. That's actually in my home studio office. Break Hard's probably going to show up behind my head. Not going to say what I said in the last video, but let's get into some of the news real quick. Starting off with some just throwaway quick news real quick. Not really throwaway, but things that we're not going to really elaborate on. Justin Bonsignore driving for Joe Gibbs Racing in the Xfinity Series. He was supposed to have 5 races. He will instead have 9 races in 2025, including the season opener at Daytona, as well as the final race of the season at Phoenix. So that's really good for him. Sticking with Joe Gibbs Racing, they also announced that Interstate Batteries will be back as a sponsor on one of their cars for the 34th consecutive season. Absolutely astonishing run for them over there. They'll be on Christopher Bell's car for 4 races, as well as Ty Gibbs' car for 1 race. So 5 races for Interstate Batteries. But we have to get into what is the biggest news of the week so far. And honestly, some of the news I think we already knew was going to eventually come. And that is the fact that Xfinity will be out as title sponsor of NASCAR's second tier series at the end of the 2025 season. It had been rumored for a while, mainly because of the Xfinity Series move to the CW starting in 2025. That is a Nexstar Media Group property. Doesn't make sense for Comcast to promote one of their brands on a rival media group. Just makes sense there. So the Xfinity Series is done at the end of 2025. If you enjoy hearing your favorite Xfinity driver say almost as fast as Xfinity Internet, Regan, well, enjoy it while you can. This year, actually, I don't think Regan's doing the Xfinity stuff. Regardless, you understand what I'm going for here, because it's not going to happen in 2026. Meaning, that opens the door for the Busch Series to come back. Bring it back. If we bring back the Craftsman Truck Series, there's no reason we can't bring back the Busch Series. Yeah, they sponsor Ross Chastain. I understand that. I'm willing to sacrifice Ross Chastain like he's an old person in Midsummer so that we can get the Busch Series back, because honestly, I never stopped calling it the Busch Series. Sure, it was the Nationwide Series from 2008 to 2014, and then since 2015, it's been the Xfinity Series, and they've been a great partner. Don't get me wrong. But I think everybody of a certain age definitely still refers to it as the Busch Series, and would love to see the Busch Series come back. Now, of course, Busch is a premier partner of the NASCAR Cup Series, and speaking of premier partners, Xfinity will stay on as a premier partner of NASCAR on a multi-year deal. They will also be the official wireless partner of NASCAR with Xumo, their wireless brand, and they will also now sponsor the Fastest Lap Award as well. More on that in a little bit, but starting off with the Xfinity Series, and where does NASCAR go from here? It sounds like NASCAR is willing to hit the open market and find a new title sponsor for the Xfinity Series. It is not going to become like the Cup Series with their 4 premier partners, and it's just referred to as the Cup Series, not going to be called the Sportsman Series or anything like that. NASCAR is going to look for a new title sponsor for the Xfinity Series. Who is that going to be? Up in the air right now. They have, of course, had 12 months to figure that out. Xfinity literally re-signed for the next 12 months so that they could give NASCAR some time to find a new title sponsor. NASCAR is absolutely going to do that, because that means more money for the Xfinity Series teams and something that they could all really use. So yes, NASCAR is going to go out there and try to find a new title sponsor. Who will that be? I have to wait for the rest of the season to play out. But we have to talk about one of the things I mentioned earlier, another big change happening. Honestly, something that could actually be pretty big in terms of affecting the outcome of the championship, or at least who gets into the championship for. Starting in 2025 across all 3 NASCAR series, NASCAR will hand out a 1-point bonus for the driver that has the fastest lap in each race. So if you are having a bad day, let's say, you pit, you put on fresh tires, you go out there and set the fastest lap, you get that extra point for the day. When it comes down to an elimination race, and say you're 1 point out or you're tied and you get that fastest lap point and that puts you in, like I said, it could be a massive decider in the title battle. Now, is it going to happen like that all the time? No, absolutely not. Formula One did this, of course. They scrapped it for the 2025 season, but it's something they've done over the last handful of seasons. And it hasn't really affected the outcome of a championship up to this point, but this certainly could with how tight NASCAR elimination races are and how tight the championship battle is as well. When it gets down to the championship race, none of the championship 4 are eligible for that extra bonus point. Again, it's whoever finishes highest amongst those 4 wins the championship. Keep it simple there. I know a lot of fans are going to say, well, if you're going to do this, you might as well bring back the point for leading a lap and leading the most laps. And listen, I've never been a huge fan of that, and I don't necessarily want to bring in in another 2 more variables rather for this point system. It's already a complex point system for a casual fan to sit down and try to understand. I know you, me, the diehards that are watching this understand how the points format works, but adding in 2 more variables on top of this fastest lap point just doesn't really make that much sense to me right now. Now, in terms of who would have had like the most points last year in the Cup Series, it would have been Kyle Larson with 5 fastest lap points in 2025. A guy like William Byron would have had none. So for Larson, it, could help him out there. For Byron, it's something that he probably will maybe want to look at for 2025. It could, like I said, come down to something that helps decide the title this season in either of the 3 series. So I'm curious to see how it plays out here and if teams do strategize to put emphasis on getting that fastest lap, because, hey, that's an extra point that is there for the taking. So we'll see how all of that plays out. Now, of course, at a place like a super speedway, it's going to be a little bit harder to try to strategize into that unless, of course, you're going to lay back and try to get a huge run up there. But at a road course, at a short track, at a track that has high tire wear, a Darlington or something like that, if you're having a bad day and you want to just try to get that extra point because you're not going to finish in the top 10 or whatever, who's to say a team doesn't just put on fresh tires and go out there and try to get the fastest lap? Like I said, could be a lot of gamesmanship here as well. And I know people are immediately going to point out, hey, what happens if a teammate of a driver goes out there and steals the fastest lap away from a rival? Listen, I think that kind of just comes down to the rules of the game at this point. That's just strategy. I don't necessarily think it's race manipulation. It's not race manipulation because you're going out there and giving 100+% to get it done. But I can certainly see that becoming a topic of debate later in the year. Have to see how people react to it and have to see how teams utilize it and how they attempt to go for it. So let me know in the comments what you think about Xfinity being out. It doesn't mean that NASCAR is dying. I know people are going to say that. Absolutely does not. It just comes down to a conflict for the most part here. And then what you think about this new fastest lap point that is going to be awarded for every single race this season across all 3 series. Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on TikTok @BreakHard, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook @BreakHardBlog.